This is my review of the best HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript work I've done recently from concept to production. I picked out JavaScript frameworks, did needs analysis, and what I want to talk about right now in this video, though, is the code and design of the highest interest priority personnel in operations project. Um, this was for Public Works Department in San Francisco and Department of Public Works. I made this logo, and I believe, yes, when you click on the logo, you can get to other works that I've created for the Department of Public Works. Now, I did all this work from concept, user interviews, JOAT was really good. I should talk about JOAT next. JOAT is great. This was my first attempt at analyzing their needs and creating mock-ups that they could scroll around in. So JOAT is, some of it works, like I coded this here. This is a great search function. You can type in something here like HFRAC, and it will filter, shows you 11 entries from the 13 total entries. It'll filter by that, and it'll find them anywhere, and that's really useful. One of the great innovations. So with JOAT, what I got to do was they gave me a few months to just look at their job order automation system and re-envision what it could do for us. Sky's the limit, sort of, how would I design it if it were up to me type project. So I put, this is timeline.js. It's not actually working, it's just a placeholder. This is a kind of mock-up combination with interactive demo. So some things like this timeline are just placeholders. I think with this one there was, I had to figure out how to size it appropriately. Or, no, I think I didn't want to bother to make some fake one up for a demo. There's another demo, there's a reference list with how to include that in code if we want to do it. But I just didn't get around to it for that. This is nice. I'm doing this sort of hierarchical information thing. They have a lot of really dense graphs, so it's really neat to, I love this. Their old approver list and automation system didn't have this diagram. So when you're filling out this part over here, you wouldn't have this diagram available to you in the UI. It was in like a second manual. On page 48 is where I found it. But this is really key to understanding how you're going to fill in this here, or this, depending on where you are in this task flow. I thought about doing a dedicated sort of task flow UI for this. You are here, and make that like a whole section on its own. Make this a little more graphical. It just wasn't a priority. I got the opportunity to completely overhaul their system and their design, and basically look at anything I want. Approval history for current processes. So most of what I did was just make the graphs look prettier. This is actually not good. That needs some space between the edge and the letter S. I should have fixed that. Easy enough to fix. But what I did here was a heck of a lot. We've got a home page. There was none before. This was basically some sort of scattered in different applications. Job listings. Those are job order listings. And I added like searches. You didn't used to be able to search by it. You had to type in the folio number or something like that. It was just really hard. my editing history. Shows you what changes you've made quickly and conveniently. Then we've got job details, which was the bulk of what they had before, but I added graphics. There were no graphics before. I added this multi-column searchable. So these are smart searchable and smart columns. Basically, we've got 3 items in here because these 3 items are always grouped. If you have a unique number here with PC UI, then these are all something to do together. I'm not sure what. Oh, here we added in calculation shows. This shows us a lot more about what's going on with the money. Exactly what it shows, I can't remember right now. It should be obvious though. Totals for mod. Oh, because what they do is these are examples of modifications. So this is a job order, but in each job order, they might modify it, and one of these is probably clickable that will take us to the job details. No, there's some sort of workflow. I know some of these are clickable. Oh, maybe this one? Yeah. So these are modifications to the budget that we're showing here. And these are budget allocation differences. So I was really excited about being able to work that into the... What does that go to? Yeah, okay. It's just a dummy link. I innovated an Excel, export to Excel. There was no export before. What we're going to do is a really nice export to Excel. Most people just export a CSV, column separated value functionality, and that's okay. It gets you the data, great. But we thought, why not make a custom Excel spreadsheet that shows the information? And we managed to do it in like 2 clicks using the existing architecture. What you do basically is you download a blank Excel template, and then you export it for Excel, and then you import it into that Excel template. What that gets you is is on page 1, nothing. On page 1, you get the same CSV pasted into Excel, because that's where you pasted it. But on page 2, we've copied the information from page 1, and we formatted it, and we put in graphs and things like that. I should find an example of that for you to show. B&B, timeline, and audit trail. Yeah, put a timeline and audit trail. We're using JS. I think, yeah, I put in a functioning timeline.js version just to kind of wow them, because I wanted them to like get buy-in. And I thought, wow, this is really convenient, looks really good. They'll approve the JOAT prototype I'm making if they see this. This sells it right here, you know, and they didn't have any timeline functionality at all before. So as an innovation, it's, you know, revolutionary to finding the information for them. And we want a filterable timeline. Show in timeline above. Email alerts was sent by date if we're lucky. Project general info date. So we want a customizable timeline. So we're using timeline really as a search results list. So all these are really, logically, they should maybe go above the timeline as a search results for the timeline. And these are more search results. So I guess I got the order of this wrong. This should conceptually be above the timeline. But visually, in a prototype, for pitching to execs within the company, it looks better to just lead with the timeline and then explain, hey, it's also searchable. So I'm changing the order somewhat on my presentation in order to better sell the presentation. In actual production, we probably want to change the order. So here we've got just some repackaged flow diagrams. Some charts. What is this tab? Oh, reports, jobs, stats, and charts. Yeah, so this is like all the sort of accessory information that's not part of a specific job listing. Like this shows several jobs, or it's a workflow. It's not a job listing. It's not a job detail. It's not a job files workspace. It's not an Excel export. or import. It's not, what is PMDB? Oh, it just opens a PMDB application in a new browser tab. So I'm encapsulating another standalone bespoke application that they've got. It's like their legacy database solution in here. So basically, we wanted to keep their old database because it's legacy, they can't get rid of it. So what we did is we just added a hook to a secondary database structure. So all the new information I'm adding in job details, because I added some things that I think we wanted to know about job details. I just wrote them down and said, yeah, we're going to add that into our table even though it wasn't part of the original specs. Because as a user, I know that they want that information. I talked to the people who use this a little bit and asked about how they use it. So we're adding more information, like, you know, who approved this and what was their reason. We're giving them an option to add a reason for the approval or the denial of approval, either audio version, an audio recording even, or a video recording even. So, you know, you could, if you want to sign in here, design completion, and sign off on that, you could add an audio comment or a written comment or a video comment. That's something that you couldn't do before, and there's no room for it in the legacy database. So we basically built a second database with a one-to-one link to every customer ID in the database, and we did the sort of same thing. We built extension database tables. And actually, the newer database is a complete mirror. So it mirrors the legacy database in all the fields. It's just got extra fields. You know how it is in an institution when you're converting from legacy old databases. You just kind of got to do that sort of stuff. Anyways, I really got off track on this review of JOAT, and I'd really love to talk about it a lot more, because there's lots of really great things. What does this do? Oh, this is how you order entry. So it's a table. There used to be like some separate sort of pop-up window for like adding a new item to the source of funding, but now it's not. Now you just start writing in here. Can I do that? No. I can't do that because this is not, because I'm not logged in for some reason. But I'm starting a color coding system. So we've always got the header information at the top and the bottom of every table. We put the copy, CSV export, Excel export, PDF export, and save. We put those on every table. We always have a search here, and then we always have a header in yellow and a footer in yellow. And the footer allows you to add new entries or search. This could be a custom search, like a specific search filter. Like if you, like here, we can search on like BAU. We can search on something there, and it'll filter everything. But what if you just wanted to search within a specific field? Well, this might be one way to do it. I think this is just a placeholder, but somewhere in this document, when I did the video demo for them, it shows them working. Oh, help videos and, you know, this used to be part of a separate system entirely. There was like one system for tracking if you'd done a manual system, even with printed paper, for checking if you had gone through each of the tutorials. These are all tutorials that you're supposed to learn before using JOA. You know, I'm not a big fan of tutorials. The UI should be usable without tutorials. But what we had when I walked in was a large number of printed PDF books and online PDFs sent via email on how to use the system. It was very hard to find when you were using the system. There was no link to it. So in addition to help here, I think there's more. What is D? Discussion? Oh yeah, this is just my jQuery template. It's all based on jQuery. This was kind of an older work, and they were kind of an older sort of shop using older coding methods, so I didn't want to use anything more advanced than jQuery in this prototype. I did another prototype that's fully like responsive and stuff, which, oh yeah, was what I wanted to talk to you about. So this is this. This was their next generation, And we've got lots of neat features in here. Look at this. Wait. Oh, I know what's wrong. I actually need to see this one. It only works over HTTPS. This is just a local copy. See, I'm file browsing. But with the newer templates and technologies, some things like these icons here won't show up unless I'm actually working out of an HTTPS server or an HTTP server anyways. So I envisioned that you could like navigate through this using voice prompts, and this is like the future perfect dream version of what I think they would look like. So this is, I guess, this is what they're using now. It's not bad. It's legible. It's functional. You can click on things. This is actually what I was making them, which was a little better than what they had. Mostly what they had was just database access using a web page. So like they had exposed primitives like acronyms that you had to like look up or know were like here. You probably see it in the defaults. No, these are names. That's good. No. Oh, here. Yeah. So, like, Balboa Street paving. Where's an acronym when you need one? DPW. So there's no legend for what GEM is created by. Okay, so that's great, but it'd be nice if I could click on the created by and get to their personality profile. But it's not bad. This is what I made for them. This is what I made for them and got into production. This is what I made for them and proposed, and they really loved it. It comes with a, most of the bodies and job details on this one. That's where all the good stuff is, work that I did. This comes with, all the code ready, so they could implement this immediately. I used like some open source table generating things. I forget which open source it was. I did like a review of every freaking JavaScript library in the existence to make the recommendations. That's right. This was done in datatables.js. It's a great little library. It does a lot of neat things like these custom sorting things really easy and highlighting really easy. That's like built in that I really like. And this used to be, this table here used to be a flat Excel format. See how we've got these in column layout? It used to be like really long and wide, and you had to scroll it and you couldn't see a whole line at once, and it was just awful. So imagine this, and then instead of going on the second line for each row, imagine it just being a long string like in Excel going horizontally across the page. Previous would be in one column, add deduct would be in another column, current would be in another column, expiration date one column, effective date duration, effective date in another column, duration in another column, and they'd all be on the same row, not stacked. So it was an unusable layout. This grouping multiple lines in a single data row was really a key thing that I wanted to spread across all their layouts. So let's see if we have something like that in this one. Yeah, see how they're doing it here? You've got this one column that's like really bright, and when you've got a long column here and it doesn't really fit very well because, well, you need this much column for this. So this would be a good example of when you should stack. Like you should put the description underneath the estimate title, and then it'll flow better, and make it in paragraph format, which we did for better readability here and here. And let's see, did I do that elsewhere? Right there. Where's the, well, jobs listings, I think that's pretty developed. Maybe that's where I had it. So this is like a really advanced search functionality that I wanted for job order information. The goal of the JOA project was to look at our vendor purchases across all of SFGOV and consolidate information and vendors for saving money. So there's a lot of places where you see, like, we bought a pipe for $500 one time on one project, and the same pipe is $1,000 on another project. And I'm like, why is that? Did we just overpay? The answer is usually yes. We did just overpay. But what we want to do is consolidate that and share information about pricing within departments and not overpay. So we want to use our pricing volume to leverage our purchases, not divide our purchases. So we needed a really robust job search ability. So you can search on any data field you enter. The idea is that whatever you enter as data is searchable. And you use the same UI format. You'll notice here, this search function, you can search on job order info, general info, or client info. I could type in anywhere in here. Source of funds, yes. I want to set search on its first effective date there. And it's the same UI for entering search information as the job details. Look. See? We've got the same organization schema. And one of the other things I did was when I put these into collapsibles, you've got like the summary information up here. So even when it's collapsed, you can get a lot of information. So there's one form view. I think of this as a form, and there's one form view that has like summary information here. And I should put summary information and budget info and source of funds and allocation of funds and all that, so that when they're collapsed, you still see things. I only did it here and here as a demonstration of what I wanted to suggest to them that they do elsewhere. I think it gets the point across that, hey, look, we can do this. Now let's talk about which item should be in the header of allocation of funds, because I don't really know what exactly information we want up there. Accounting audit trail, we don't have anything in here because it hasn't been audited. But back to this would be futuristic. So you get your UI theme sounds. We want some background mode. I was thinking wind chimes. Something light, just like wind blowing through chimes outdoors. Whenever you're on our site, you hear that in the background. It's not very noticeable, just a little bit to uplift you. I think you should have some uplifting sound if you've got a speaker attached to your stereo, better than the clackety-clack of someone's keyboard in another cubicle. And not distracting. I mean, you could work over it if you're in the cubicle next door. Enable button feedback sound. So you can turn this off. You can also turn off the UI theme soundtrack if you want, with the UI theme sound if you want it. You can have a specific eyes-free reading voice. This is Jen 234 who would be reading this to you. So she would read things to you, and then she would stop at a voice prompt if you wanted to fill in a data. This would be like for a timesheet sub-application or something, right? But that's your reading voice. Reward tunes on complete. Oh yeah, so every time you complete a task, like I'm filling this form out here, and then here, and then here, and then I go here, and it goes beep, beep. Gives me a nice little complete sound to let me know that I've accomplished card 1. And then terms of sale, I fill that in, and it gives me a nice little beep boop complete sound. Probably not a beep boop, probably a nice wind chime, huh? So we have wind chimes for positive reinforcement whenever you complete a field or enter a field or leave a field, and we can customize all that for the use on a per user basis. We need like a user object that stores all the user preferences for our application. That should be both a back-end and a front-end user object. Probably, do it in JavaScript on the front end, obviously. I know Kendo UI has a widget for a local storage object that we can use. On the back end, we also need to store it so that if they log in from different machines or something, we can replicate their UI preferences. Hands-free voice command is on. Speech recognition, data entry. So theoretically, if you're on an iPhone, I mean, let's talk about mobile optimization. Why can't you use your iPhone to fill in form data fields with either free speech or with selecting from different ones? That should be fast and efficient for things like timesheet. You should be able to just use your iPhone for filling out a timesheet and voice prompts. Make the web page read it. Then let you put in something. It'll repeat your voice recognition. You said you came in at 7 o'clock all 4 days. Yes, that's right. Okay. Enable one-click snapshots. I'm not sure what that's for. Probably just screen snapshots. That's probably like my default data exit. A one-click snapshot would export the screen as a screenshot, yes, but it would also allow you to export the data, all data on the page, or chip through data on the page. It's a generic one-click export functionality for the whole UI and for all of SFGOV. For all our pages, it should have that. If you want to export, there's one place you go all the time on the page. It's the one-click snapshot. I think it's, what icon is that? Oh, let me get off this. Yeah, this is so much better. Working over HTTP. So we've got the icons here, yeah. Settings. Remember sort and widget locations. Right, because this is an online application, not a website. We're going to want to move widgets, and Kendo UI has that feature conveniently built into all their things, all their little widgets. We settled on Kendo UI for the Java server page, JavaScript architecture for SFGOV because it's one library, and they were old school. A lot of them, they didn't want too many JavaScript libraries. You know, like the previous JOA. You know, this had like I don't know. I ended up putting in for like widgets and stuff like that. I ended up with like 10 or 15 libraries, custom fonts, blah, blah, blah. That was intimidating to some of their older staff. So this one looks better, and it actually uses fewer JavaScript libraries. Because it's just using the Kendo UI library, and this is all... No, that's not true. It's using the ACE. I'm sorry. We did do some work with Kendo UI, and I think some parts of this... I think I have separate Kendo UI references. This is... I apologize. I had to give up on just a limited number of JavaScript libraries for getting the results I wanted. This is nice. I like this. Look, you've got the hover over effect. So when you're in a field, it visually reinforces that you're in this field. This just creates fewer... This just creates far fewer, oops, I didn't see that. Or it takes just a fraction of a second less when you like look over here to find your place again when it's got this. The general idea is that we've got a general idea framework. Everything, when you click on it, is hovered up. It gets lifted above the page if it's active. So notice how this looks like it's lifting off the page, and these look like lift off the page. One final design concept that I explore elsewhere is a highly three-dimensional sort of interactive, very responsive, and I don't mean just responsive to the page size, but I mean responsive to the user interaction. When you click here, it knows. I'd like to do other exciting things like, you know, why not make this, see how it lights up here when you hover over it? Why not have it light up when you're not hovering over it, but only the closest one to your arrow? So when you move your mouse here, this is the closest clickable thing, so this would highlight up. And if I'm over here, then it would highlight here. So this is how this would look with here, right? With this, like if my arrow were here, this would be lit up, this form filled. And then as I got closer to this one, it would change. So then once I cross the halfway point between this and this, then this one would start moving up. Even if my mouse isn't on it, just as a sort of, hey, you're approaching a clickable point, let me jump in front of you and say, click me. I mean, that would just say, click me, wouldn't it? It'd be like wherever you moved, it kind of jumps out and wants you to click on it. whenever your mouse is near it. It does the same thing with hover, but it would be even more intuitive if it like jumped out and tried to and said, "I'm the closest thing you can click." Um, if you were just close. Expanded hit states. This is actually explained by Fitt's law. Fitt's law states that time to target, that's time to move the mouse to a target, is proportional to the distance divided by the size of the target. So it takes longer to move the mouse a lot, duh, and it takes longer to hit a small thing, like this teeny number here, 2.1, than it does a larger field. And if it could be even larger to include all of this, you click, like if I clicked on the TRMs and terms and it jumped my cursor here, that would be even more usable. So I think a lot about minute user interactions at a very microsecond level, marginal level. I like thinking that way. So this was my chance to build what I thought was the perfect, this is a floating table, and this is their old style. So you notice how it's got only one line here? Yeah. You have to put in a scrolling. I mean, it's okay in a window like this scrolling, and you can kind of move it around and resize it and dock it, so it's good for some things. Mostly I just wanted to show for executive consideration and mock-up development. You know, I wanted to say, hey, look, in our mock-ups, we can use a floating window with a table as a quick alternative to what you have now that would be more usable for operations. Of course, these are sortable. This opens up an advanced sort. Let's see, I think I've got some different advanced sorts on here. I got one of them with different advanced sorts. I like the filter icon for advanced sorting. I think that's very intuitive, having it on every column. And of course, it's sortable like that. I mean, that's all industry stuff, and I don't want the job of coding that stuff. I just want the job of integrating it. Some icons over here. You want standardized icons. Oh no, actually, those are part of the underlying table. So I think. Oh, and then I wrote just tons of crazy brainstorming idea here as part of my mock-up. If you want to read a lot of crazy brainstorming ideas about this design, this is my artist statement, my designer statement. It's a lot to read if you're really interested, and I didn't bother to format it. It's just kind of rough notes and internal thinking. But if you want some process behind this, here's the process. Alright, that concludes my video review of my latest and greatest concept to code creation. Thank you for your time and listening. How do I turn this off? Wait, did I not get any of that? No, I'm still recording. How do I get back to the screen recorder? I think that's it.